If you have ever had a friend who turned every conversation into a crisis, drained your energy, and then made you feel like the villain the second you set a boundary, you didn't just survive a bad friendship, you survived emotional abuse. Today, we are decoding exactly what a toxic, manipulative adult friendship really does to your mind, why you now overanalyze every text message from new people, and how to finally break this invisible cycle of hyper-awareness. The most surprising example of how this specific abuse secretly ruins your future relationships is coming up. Welcome to Third Eye Awakened, where we build minds that think faster, deeper, and smarter than the crowd. If you value understanding human behavior and want to build an unbreakable mind, I'd love for you to like and follow. The final insight changes everything.
When we hear the word abuse, we are conditioned to think of romantic partners or childhood trauma. But one of the most destructive psychological experiences is emotional abuse at the hands of a close friend. In American culture, we heavily romanticize the ride or die friendship. We are told that true friends carry each other's burdens, stick around through thick and thin, and never walk away. But here is the massive psychological problem. Manipulators use that exact cultural loyalty to trap you. When you are in a friendship with someone who is emotionally unstable, narcissistic, or chronically toxic, you aren't participating in a mutual relationship. You are participating in a psychological hostage situation. The brutal conflict you are living with right now is that the extreme empathy and patience you use to survive that toxic friend have actually rewired your mind, making it terrifying to trust anyone new. Let's break down the hidden clinical psychology of a mind shaped by an abusive friendship.
To understand what happened to you, we have to look at a psychological dynamic called emotional contagion mixed with the therapist friend trap. In a healthy friendship, two people share the emotional load. But in an abusive friendship, you were turned into an emotional sponge. Your friend used you as a dumping ground. They would call you in the middle of the workday with a crisis, venting for hours about their ex or their coworkers. Because you have high cognitive empathy, you didn't just listen, you absorbed their anxiety. You became their emotional regulator. They would dump all of their psychological trash onto you, hang up feeling completely relieved, and leave you feeling utterly exhausted, sitting in an office unable to focus. You subconsciously learned a toxic rule. I only have value to this person when I am fixing their life.
But what happened when you finally tried to hold them accountable? What happened when you pointed out their destructive behavior or simply said, "I can't talk right now, I'm exhausted"? This is where the emotional abuse peeked through, a clinical mechanism called projection and ego defense. When the true manipulative nature of a toxic person is exposed, they experience intense shame. But to protect their fragile ego, they strike back. They don't admit fault. Instead, they project their own flaws onto you. Suddenly, you are the bad friend. You are selfish. You are arrogant and unsupportive. They twist the narrative so masterfully that you actually end up apologizing for setting a perfectly normal boundary. This psychological manipulation breaks down your trust in your own reality.
Because of this toxic dynamic, your mind had to develop a brilliant but exhausting defense mechanism. You developed what clinical psychology observes as hypervigilance. Because your friends' moods were volatile and their passive aggression was hidden behind fake smiles, you had to learn how to anticipate their emotional shifts to protect yourself. You started practicing thin slicing, the psychological ability to read the tiniest behavioral cues. You learned to measure the tone of their voice, the exact phrasing of their text messages, and the micro expressions on their face. But here is where the struggle truly begins. Long after you cut that toxic friend out of your life, this survival radar never turns off. Today, you walk into a dinner party or meet a new friend for coffee, and your mind is running a hidden marathon. A new friend takes 30 minutes to reply to a text, and your brain doesn't think they must be busy. Your brain instantly flags it as a threat. They are pulling away, I did something wrong, the silent treatment has started. Half of your mind is trying to hold a normal, fun conversation, while the other half is running a massive psychological calculation just to make sure you aren't about to be manipulated again. This leads to a tragic loss. You suffer from the loss of relational innocence. You can no longer trust the surface of words. A compliment from a new friend feels like a setup for a future favor. A kind gesture feels like a calculated investment. You become trapped in the detective trap and fall victim to confirmation bias. You are so terrified of being used again that your mind actively filters all social interactions to look for red flags, ignoring all the green flags right in front of you. You win every mental game. You expose every mask, and you never get fooled. But the painful price is that you can never, ever relax.
And this leads us to the cruelest paradox of surviving an abusive friendship. To your traumatized mind, a healthy relationship actually feels boring, or worse, suspicious. Think about your behavior. When you finally meet someone who is consistent, emotionally mature, and doesn't require you to constantly fix their life, you start to feel anxious. Why? Because in your abusive friendship, chaos was connection. You equated high-stress drama with closeness. When life is smooth and a friend is simply nice to you without a hidden agenda, you feel exposed. Calmness feels like the calm before the storm. To regain a sense of control, your mind artificially creates chaos. You push new healthy friends away. You overanalyze their completely innocent behavior until you find a flaw. You are psychologically terrified of losing control, which pushes you into hyper-independence. You build an impenetrable fortress around yourself. You become the friend who never needs anyone, refusing to let anyone support you, completely ignoring the fact that you are locking yourself in a prison of your own making to avoid the ghost of your past abuser.
Furthermore, because of the emotional abuse, you likely developed the can't say no disease. In psychology, we know that the human mind processes the pain of social rejection in the exact same neural pathways as physical pain. Because your abusive friend punished you every time you said no, you now use the word yes as a quick painkiller against guilt. You will say yes to covering shifts, lending money, or attending events you hate just to avoid the perceived threat of a friend's disappointment. You are cruel to yourself just to keep the peace. So, how do we heal a mind that has been fundamentally rewired by an abusive adult friendship? How do we learn to trust people again without being naive? The answer is establishing radical cognitive boundaries. First, you must practice strategic ignorance. You are going to notice when people act slightly off. You are going to see the hidden motives and the social masks. But you must clearly separate the truth of a situation from your responsibility to react to it. If a new acquaintance is being passive-aggressive, acknowledge it in your mind, but refuse to play their game. You are not the emotional janitor of the world. Treat their mood like a passing gray cloud. You see it, but you don't have to fly up and fix it. Second, you have to let go of the therapist-friend identity. Stop trying to earn your place in people's lives by being endlessly useful. The next time a friend has a minor crisis, instead of rushing in to save them, offer empathy, but do not offer a solution unless explicitly asked. Let them handle their own life. You have to teach your mind that you have value simply by existing, not just by being a problem-solving machine. Finally, you must accept the risk of the present moment. To escape the detective trap, you have to allow yourself to be intentionally blind sometimes. If your intuition says there is a 10% chance a new friend might betray you, you must have the courage to accept that 10% risk so you can fully enjoy the 90% of joy in front of you. Living fully requires the courage to sometimes get hurt.
You did an incredible job surviving a person who tried to consume your entire identity. But you do not have to wear that heavy armor forever. True emotional maturity isn't about perfectly analyzing everyone so you never get betrayed again. It is having the courage to put down the magnifying glass, step out of the fortress, and trust that even if someone hurts you in the future, you are now strong enough to walk away the very first time.
It is time to let your mind rest. What is one toxic habit from a past friendship that still makes you overthink today? Ask yourself why you still carry it, and drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this video helped you understand your own mind, hit the like button. Follow us to think smarter, understand human behavior, and see what others miss. Stay strong, and I'll see you next time.